A broke man was handed a ticket he could actually afford. He brought it to his teacher, proud of himself, and his teacher told him to deny it, to stand there and say out loud something that was, at that moment, simply not true. 2 days later, the thing that wasn't true was true, in writing, at a counter, signed by a stranger who had never met him. Everyone tells the first half of this story. Nobody tells you what happened at the ticket office 6 weeks later. And that half is the only part with a method in it, because that's where the student was doing it wrong and didn't know. I'll show you the exact place he went wrong, because you're standing in it right now. But first, one thing to check. It takes a minute, and once you see your answer, you can't unsee it. Do it right now. Don't wait for the end of the video. Pick the thing you say you want. Money, a house, a relationship, your body back, out of the job. Whatever you'd name if a friend asked you tonight. Now say it out loud, not in your head, out loud, in the words you'd really use. Go ahead. I'll wait. Now listen to what came out of your mouth. Not to whether it's true, not to whether it's possible. Listen to one thing only, its size. Because here's what happens to almost everybody. When people say the thing out loud, they don't say the thing. They say a smaller version, a safer version. And they've said it that way so many times that they don't hear the shrinking anymore. It doesn't come out as, I want to be completely out of debt. It comes out as, I just want a little breathing room. Not, I want that house. I want to stop throwing money away on rent. Not, I want a marriage. Just as I'd like to at least meet someone decent. Do you hear what happened in that sentence? You didn't ask for the thing, you asked for the discounted version of the thing, the version that felt reachable from exactly where you're standing today. And here's what makes it so hard to catch in yourself. You didn't do that out of despair. You did it out of maturity. You were being realistic. That shrinking felt like the grown-up in you finally speaking sense. Hold on to that, because that one sentence is the entire video. Quick, and it's on topic. Nobody discounted this for you. No light version, nothing shrunk down to make it easier. It's the whole thing, and it costs one click. Small action, full size, no bargaining. One line I want to draw clearly, because without it, this becomes something it isn't. This is not a video about wanting more. I'm not going to tell you that your problem is that you didn't dream big enough, or hand you the word abundance. That's the version that sells, and it's the version that doesn't work. It just takes the same begging and moves it up a bracket. A man begging for $1 million is still a man begging. My claim is much narrower, and it's the only one I'll build on. You have already edited your desire down to whatever your current situation can explain. Quietly, probably years ago. And whatever you edited it down to is what you'll get. Not because the universe is stingy, because the shrunken version is the one you actually believe. And belief is the only part of this that does any work. So the size isn't the point. The honesty is. And this teaching has one very specific, very uncomfortable instruction for the moment the discount shows up in your life. New York City, 1933. The Depression has the country by the throat. As Neville told it in a 1971 lecture, he was a young dancer with no work and no money living in a basement on 75th Street. And he wanted one thing, Christmas with his family in Barbados. 2,000 miles of ocean and a passage he had no way to pay for. So he took it to his teacher, an old man he called Abdullah, who lived a few blocks away on 72nd Street and who in Neville's own words understood this law better than anyone he ever met. Neville explained everything, the longing, the distance, the complete absence of money. Abdullah's entire response was 4 words. You are in Barbados. That's it. That's the whole answer. Put yourself in that room. Neville is standing in Manhattan in a cold autumn with empty pockets, and he says so. And when he pushes, when he asks the obvious question, how? The old man refuses to take the question. If you are in Barbados, you cannot discuss the means of getting to Barbados. Sit with that. He isn't saying, don't worry about the how. He's saying something stranger. Asking how is proof you haven't done it yet. A man who's already there doesn't ask for directions. Then he gives the actual instruction, and it's more specific than people remember. You must actually live in Barbados in your imagination as though you were there, just as if, and view the world from Barbados. Hear that last part. View the world from Barbados. Not think about Barbados, not want it, not picture it like a postcard. Stand inside it, then turn around and look back at New York from there. And Neville said he did exactly that. Night after night in that basement, he put himself in his mother's house on the island and saw New York 2,000 miles to the north of him. Weeks went by, nothing happened. He went back and complained. Abdullah turned his back and shut the door in his face. A lesson I've spent a whole video on before and won't repeat here. Then, in the first days of December, a letter appears under his door. His brother Victor, who Neville never asked for anything, has enclosed $50 and already told the steamship company to issue him a ticket. This is where the story usually ends. The manifestation arrived, roll credits, and it's exactly where the real teaching begins. Because Neville goes to the shipping office, hands over the letter, and the man behind the counter tells him, "I am sorry, Mr. Goddard, but I do not have a first-class passage for you. We can accommodate you third class." Third class, to sleep in. Use of the first-class rooms during the day. That was the offer. And Neville, broke, unemployed, a man who 6 weeks earlier had nothing, said yes instantly. Of course he did. Wouldn't you? He went from no ticket to a ticket. By any sane measure, that's a miracle. He rushed back to Abdullah with the good news, elated, and Abdullah did not congratulate him. In a 1964 question and answer session, Neville quoted what the old man said, "Who told you that you are going to Barbados? And who told you that you went to Barbados third class? You went to Barbados and you went first class." And he closed the door on him. Again, if you've seen the video on this channel where I told this as a money story, this is the part I left out. That one was about the money arriving. This one is about what he did in the 90 seconds after. And it's linked below if you want that half. Because on the morning of December 6th, Neville handed his third-class ticket to the agent at the pier, and the agent said, "Mr. Goddard, I have good news for you. We have a cancellation, and now you can go first class." Now slow down and look at what Neville actually did inside that shipping office, because you did the same thing, probably years ago, and you've never thought about it since. He was handed a partial, not nothing, that matters. A partial is never nothing. It was a real improvement over what he had that morning, a ticket that would have physically put him on that ship. And he took it gratefully and stopped there. If Abdullah hadn't stopped him, he'd have slept 10 nights in third class and called it an answered prayer for the rest of his life. That's what I want to name tonight. That's the third class. Here's the definition, and write it down if you write things down. The third class is the version of your desire that your current circumstances can explain. In plainer words, the version that makes sense given your bank account, your age, your history. The version that doesn't require anything unexplainable to happen. And notice, it never arrives as an insult. That's the trick. It always shows up looking like progress, like the sensible next step, like the thing a mature person accepts with gratitude. It is the only shape a downgrade can take and still get past you. Here's what it looks like in a real life, probably yours. You wanted the business. You accepted the side income and told yourself it was step one. That was 3 years ago. It's still step one because it was never a step. It was the destination, resized to fit your bank balance. You wanted a marriage. You accepted the arrangement that is technically not loneliness. And now you defend it out loud at family dinners to people who love you and can see your face. You wanted your work to mean something. You accepted the title instead. The title is fine. And something in you went quiet the same month you accepted it. And you've never put those two facts side by side. Now look at all three again, because here's what makes this so slippery. Every one of them is genuinely better than what came before. That's not an accident. That's the mechanism. The third class has to arrive as an improvement, because an improvement is the only thing you'd ever say yes to. It gets past you precisely because it's good. So here's what I think Abdullah could see and Neville could not. The moment you accept the reduced version, you have told yourself the truth about what you believe you can have. That ticket was not a step toward Barbados. It was a signed statement of the largest thing his assumption could hold. The clerk didn't just sell him a passage. The clerk measured his faith and printed it on paper. And Abdullah refused to let it stand. Not out of greed, and not to teach his student to want more. He was refusing to let his student's assumption be edited down by a stranger behind a counter. So, here's the method. 3 moves. And it's the second one almost nobody actually does, which is why the title of this video says what it says. Move 1. Name the full-size version. Out loud. Once. Not the version you can defend. Not the one that survives dinner with your brother-in-law. The one you actually want. Stated as a finished fact, simple enough that a child could repeat it back. Abdullah didn't say, "You're on your way to Barbados." He said, "You are in Barbados." Present tense. There is no root anywhere in that sentence. So check your own sentence for 3 words. Toward, starting to, and on my way. If any of them are in there, you've written the 3rd class straight into your own assumption. Take them out and say it again. I'm working toward being debt-free becomes I am debt-free. I'm starting to get my health back becomes I am well. Did you feel that? That tightening in your chest when you said the second one? That's not evidence you're lying. That's the 3rd class defending itself. Move 2. When the partial arrives, and it will, you refuse to call it the thing. This is the move. This is the refusal. Everything else tonight is set up for this one paragraph. Something is going to show up in the next few weeks that's better than what you have. A decent offer. A person who's nice enough. A number that isn't your number, but is a real relief. And every sensible instinct in you will want to close the file and call it done. Now hear me carefully, because people get this backwards. You take it. Neville took the 3rd class ticket. He didn't tear it up and walk out. Refusing the partial does not mean refusing the money, the job, or the help. Take the ticket. Say thank you. Cash the check. The refusal isn't about the ticket. The refusal is about what you call it. You take the partial and you refuse to let it become the answer. You hold the finished statement against the evidence in your own hand. Standing in that office with 3rd class printed on his ticket, Neville was made to say, "I went 1st class." And that is exactly what the thumbnail on this video means. He told him to lie, except, and this is the hinge the whole teaching turns on, it wasn't a lie. A lie is a false statement about where you are. This is a true statement about where you are standing from. Neville put it as precisely as it can be put in that 1971 lecture. Faith is the subjective appropriation of the objective hope. Let me translate that into normal English, because it's the most useful sentence he ever said, and it's buried in old language. Your hope is objective. It's out there, unowned, a thing you'd like someday. Faith is the act of taking ownership of it on the inside, before the outside has agreed to anything. You take possession first, the evidence comes second. And in the same lecture, he said it plainly, the secret is thinking from. I've taken that mechanism apart in another video on this channel, so I won't rebuild it here. Tonight, it has one job. You think from 1st class with the 3rd class ticket still in your pocket. Move 3. Don't reopen the discussion. Neville said he tried 3 separate times to get Abdullah to talk about it. 3 closed doors. In that 1964 session, he explained what the old man was really teaching him. Abdullah taught him there is no such thing as being a little bit pregnant. Either you conceived it or you didn't. And going back to poke at it, to check whether it's working, doesn't speed anything up. It causes a miscarriage. So the entire method in one breath, name it once, at full size. Refuse the partial each time one arrives. Then leave it alone. There's a cost to this, and I'd rather tell you than let you find it alone. Doing this will make you look ungrateful to your family, to the friend who went out of their way to find you that offer. And this is the hard one, to yourself. But look at what's actually happening. You're not turning anything down. You take the ticket. You thank the person sincerely. You just don't tell yourself it was the destination. Gratitude for the partial, no confusion about what it is. And there's a second cost, and Abdullah named it before Neville ever boarded that ship. According to Neville, the old man told him, "You know, Neville, when you return from Barbados, you will have died." He refused to explain it. Neville only understood years later. The man who came back was not the man who left. The version of him that had accepted third class, that whole way of standing in the world, small and careful, didn't survive the trip. That's the real price, not effort, not discipline, not hours of visualizing. The person who's been managing your reduced life is not coming with you. So go back to the sentence you said out loud at the start of this video. You already know it wasn't the real one. You heard yourself shrink it while it was still coming out of your mouth. That small flinch, right where you made it reasonable. Most people feel that flinch 100 times a year and never had a name for it. Now you do. That's the third class. And the refusal isn't something you practice for an hour. It's what you do the next time something decent, reasonable, and genuinely better than before lands in your lap and quietly asks to be called the answer. Neville walked onto that ship holding a ticket that said one thing, standing in a state that said another. The state won. It usually does. The trouble is that we keep handing it the smaller assignment. So tonight, before you sleep, say the full-size one. Once. Then stand inside it and look back at your life from there, the way he looked at New York from 2,000 miles away. And if you want to mark it, one word in the comments, Barbados, just the word, and next to it, the full-size version, not the reasonable one, not the one you say at dinner, the real one. I read them. And if you want the other half of this, how a man with no money got the passage paid for in the first place, that video is on the screen now. He was in a basement on 75th Street. He said he was somewhere else, and the man behind the counter changed the ticket.